in life, we reap what we sow, right? One of the basic principles of life is that you reap what you sow. Now, of course, there are many things that can happen in life that are outside of your control, right? But in general, you reap what you sow. And in general, if you sow good money habits, you will reap financial wealth. There are 5 very good, basic, easy to follow money habits. I learned these money habits from the financial advisor Dave Ramsey. And I encourage everyone to check out Dave Ramsey's website at www.daveramsey.com. DaveRamsey.com. Really good stuff, really good stuff. Now, if you apply and maintain these 5 habits over a long period of time, you will build financial wealth in your life. I'm very passionate about sharing these habits with as many people as possible because a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Habits get passed down from one generation to the next. And so if we teach people how to maintain good money habits, then they will pass down those habits to their kids. And their kids will pass down those habits to their kids. And it will become a cycle of blessings, generational blessings. And it will positively change the world. So please, take notes as I share with you these 5 habits that build financial wealth. Habit number 1, write a plan. Write a plan. That's very important to write a plan. It's very important to have a plan regarding how you expect to spend money. Every month, before the month begins, you need to write out a budget regarding how you expect to spend money. Set clear goals regarding the spending limitations of every expense category and write it all down on paper. That's important because if your plan is just in your mind, then it's vague. But when you write a plan down on paper, it becomes so much more clear and concise. And keep track of everything that you spend money on so that you are able to compare your actual spending with your plan. For example, do you know how much money you're spending each month on things like groceries, gas, restaurants, bookstores, coffee shops? Unless you are keeping track and calculating totals, you probably have no idea how much money you're spending on those various expense categories. And most likely, the actual amount is much more than you can even imagine. Because think about it, when you're spending money, you're spending a little money here, a little money there, you go to Chipotle, you get a burrito, maybe you go to a store, buy a shirt, you might go on iTunes and buy a song, and you're spending these small amounts, and in your mind, you cannot possibly be able to keep track of it all unless you are intentionally recording it and calculating totals. Moreover, unless you are establishing goals regarding the spending limitations for each month, then you probably are not being as effective as you are with the handling of your money. So starting right now, please keep track of everything that you spend money on, and from there, establish goals regarding the spending limitations of every expense category, and write it all down on paper. Write a plan. Habit number 2. Habit number 2 is spend less than you earn. Spend less than you earn. There are many people who are spending money that they don't have in order to buy things that they don't need, right? Please avoid that temptation. Think about this. There's a difference between your needs and your wants. Now, always take care of your needs, but delay your wants until you can really afford them. Think about this. As you think about your life, think about what are your needs and what are your wants. And please make the decision to delay your wants until you can actually afford them. Spend less than you earn. Habit number 3. Get out of debt and stay out of debt. Get out of debt and stay out of debt. Debt enslaves people. When people go into debt, they lose a portion of their freedom. Now, it's one thing to borrow money to purchase a home, but it's another thing to take on financial obligations that you can't afford. And that is why credit cards are so very dangerous. It's so very important to stay away from credit cards. Use debit cards or cash instead. Because think about it, when you use a debit card, well, yeah, I'll take questions at the end for sure, because I know that on this one, it's a very, very hot topic, okay, and we definitely will talk more about it, all right, so remember that question. So here's the thing, when you spend money using a debit card or cash, you guard yourself against falling into the trap of debt. Credit cards are so very dangerous. In fact, research studies have even shown that on average, people spend a lot more money when using a credit card than they do when using cash. And that is why a lot of these retail stores will offer you discounts as a way of trying to entice you to open up a credit card account. The deal may look good, but really it's a trap. They're trying to trap you. You see, those retail stores don't mind giving you a discount in exchange of you opening up a credit card account, because they know that if you open up a credit card account, you put yourself in a position to overspend. You put yourself in a position to spend money that you don't have in order to buy things that you don't need. Don't fall for the trap. Stay away from credit cards. Get out of debt and stay out of debt. Habit number 4, save and invest. Save and invest. Before spending money on your wants, make sure that you've gotten out of debt and that you have saved up an emergency fund of at least 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. That's important, because emergencies will happen. Emergencies will happen and you need to be prepared to cover them. Otherwise, you are at risk of falling into the trap of debt. So here's the plan. First, save up to have a $1,000 emergency fund. Save up at least $1,000 as your emergency fund, as step number 1. All right? Dave Ramsey calls this baby step 1. All right? Save up $1,000. Now, after that, then save up to pay off any debts you may have. Okay? And then once you become debt-free, then save up to increase your emergency fund to be at least 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. And then from there, save up to start investing into mutual funds. There are many mutual funds that earn an average interest rate of around 12% over the long term, annually. Over the long term. Now, of course, the stock market, of course, goes up and down, right? But on average, over the long term, there are many mutual funds that earn around 12% annual interest over the long term. So that means that even if you just invest $100 a month, even just $100 a month over the long term, like 40 years, that one account can easily grow to become over $1 million because of the power of compounding interest, where you start making interest and then your interest starts to make interest, right? Compounding interest is how we get our money to make money for us. So save and invest. Habit number 5. The 5th and final habit is actually the most important one. And it's the most exciting one too. Give. Give. Because you see, the gift of giving is better than a gift received. When you give, you confirm to yourself that you have more than enough. You confirm, and that sense of abundance increases your level of confidence and increases your level of gratitude, and it puts you in a position to receive even more success. So give. Live with your hands open. Be generous. Now, because here's the thing, if you hold money with a clenched fist, although you are preventing money from going out, you also are preventing even more money from coming in. So live with your hands open. Keep your hands open. Now, of course, be smart about it. Be responsible, right? Don't allow people to abuse your kindness, but at the same time, always be generous. Always give. Because think about it. The only people who really prosper in life are those who are generous. The secret to living is giving. So give. So there they are, 5 habits that build financial wealth. Number 1, write a plan. Number 2, spend less than you earn. Number 3, get out of debt and stay out of debt. Number 4, save and invest. And number 5, give. Please maintain these habits in your life, and please share these habits with others. Because together, we will change the world. Now in a moment, I'm going to open up for questions, but before I open up for questions, I'd like to have a few people share with us what were some of the things that really touched you regarding these habits and regarding these highlights, you know? In fact, right now, what we can do is start with that question you had. What was the question you had?
Well, I had 2 questions.
Okay.
About number 1 is about number 3 and 1 is about the last.
Okay.
What's the first one I had before? Stay out of debit, pay off debit and stay out of debit.
Debt.
Yeah,
Right.
debt. In today's economy, do you think that's a little more easier said than done?
Right, it is easier said than done, but it can be done. Like in the last class, we had a great discussion about student loan debt, right? Now think about it, in our culture, right? Now in our culture, we think that we need students cannot go to school. I mean, some people think that students cannot go to school without having student loan debt. But actually, it's been proven that there are a lot of students that if they go to an in-state school, right? Because those are some of the most economical schools, tuitions, right? In-state school. And if they work, they say that if research studies have shown that if a college student works 20 hours a week, part-time job, right? 20 hours a week, they can pay their way through an in-state school. And here's another thing that's a great thing, because you might think, oh, well, wait a minute, you know, if you're working and trying to go to school, that might be difficult, right? But research studies have shown that college students who work a part-time job have a higher GPA than those that don't have a part-time job. Now, why do you think that's true? Now, on the surface, you might think that, you know, it doesn't make sense. But think about this. Why do you think it's true that college students who work a part-time job have better grades than those who don't? Why?
You don't have a job, it's free time.
You become lazy and you end up wasting time. That's right. Excellent. What else do you think?
They learn better responsibility.
Yes, you learn better responsibility. When you have to juggle your time, it's amazing how when you're busy, you end up having to really be more disciplined. You have to manage your time better. And it's amazing how when you're more, it builds discipline and all that, you know? And that discipline, when you become more disciplined, you do better in school. Even though they have less time to study, their study times are more productive, you know? So it's an interesting concept. So I want to encourage you, have a part-time job. Don't be afraid to have a part-time job when you're in school, you know, and everything. But yeah, so to answer your question, yeah, you know, like going to college, if you have a part-time job, also if you go to an in-state school, also if you have a meal plan, they say like if you have a meal plan, if you live in the dorm, right? You know, see it's interesting. Some students can afford it, right? So that's fine. If you can afford it, then that's fine. But there's some students that go to school, they have their own apartment, and they live in an expensive apartment with a jacuzzi and an indoor gym and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, you know, when you're in college, you don't need all that, you know? And it goes back to the whole thing about what are your needs and what are your wants. And here's the thing, if you're able to make the sacrifices now when you're like 20, 21, 22 years old, or 18, 19, 20, 21, make the sacrifices now, then you're going to be able to live better in the future because you'll be debt-free. And when you're debt-free, think about it, when you're debt-free, you have more control over your income. Because think about it, if you make, you know, like in one of the scenarios, the lady was making, anyway, one of the scenarios, you know, people are making a lot of money, but they have all this debt. And so even if you make a lot of money, but it's like your money is already allocated towards debt, and it's like you don't really have a lot of free money left over, right? But if you're debt-free, that's when you have better control over your money, you have more money, and you can start investing and start building wealth. And here's the point where you want to get to. You want to get to in your career where your money is making money for you. Because that's when you have options, you have freedom to retire. You don't have to go to, think about this. There's different psychology when people that have to go to work and people that want to go to work. You know what I'm saying? It's an amazing feeling when you realize that you have enough money and your money's making enough money for you that you don't have to work. It changes, it relieves so much stress, you know?